Okay, Gabe, we are back and we are kicking off our third cohort of H3 Men's Ministry. You know, COVID put us on hold. We had a little hiatus there for a little bit, but now we're back. We've got a group of guys, you guys, that are committed and ready to take a step into leadership, and we are excited to have you on board with that. However, some of you might have some questions. Maybe you've asked some of those questions. Maybe we had some of those questions answered at our information session. But just to reiterate, Gabe, tell us a little bit about what H3 is, our Hard-Hitting Habits Ministry. What even is it about?
Yeah, so being a guy and being a follower of Jesus, that comes with its own unique perils and opportunities. Yeah. And when we look in our world, we're often given two ditches that we're invited to jump into. There's one ditch where it says just deny any sort of aspect of masculinity or what it means to be a male, a man who's following Jesus. And so there's nothing that's important, nothing that's distinct about being a man. And so there's this emasculation of what it means to be a guy who follows Jesus. And then on the other side, maybe that's an overreaction. There's this call to just extreme bravado and machoism, and we show that we're true guys by how big, our biceps are, or how loud our voices are, or how many sports we can play and dominate others, and all those things are actually kind of fun. But at the same time, that's not where we find our identity, and yet that's where so many in our culture are finding. So we find these two kind of ravines that we're called to kind of jump into, and actually Jesus says there's a third way. And it has everything to do with me. And that's really what H3 is about, how do we follow Jesus with an awareness of being guys and building relationships with one another as we're deepening our intimacy in our walk with Christ.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful stuff, because we could either have the lies of culture or we can have the truth of Jesus. Yeah. And so there's some next steps as we start this journey, as we get ready to dig in and build relationships, not only with each other, but ultimately ourselves in Jesus and our church. And so there's some expectations there. There's some foundations that we got to start with, some logistical things, one of which is we want you to order a book. Yeah. So we're going to start off with a book, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to start off with a book. Leadership as an Identity. It's from Crawford Loritz, a great pastor and teacher. And we want you to go ahead and actually pick this up as soon as possible, either through Amazon or through your local bookstore, and start reading it, because we're going to start engaging that book in our 2 first times together.
Yeah, so like Amazon or something like that, we can pick that up. Really
super
cheap book.
Accessible.
Yeah, and we're going to dig into that over our course of time. And there's a couple extra as time unfolds. We'll get that information to you. But also, there's opportunities to get engaged. As most of you are already on GroupMe, be engaged there. We want to be texting each other. We want to keep those lines of communication open, because there's opportunities beyond just these 1 or 2 or 3 events that we're doing that are bigger. There's events that we can create that are smaller, that we can build relationships, like have a beer together or maybe coffee, dinner, whatever it takes. But ultimately also it's about having fun throughout this journey by building relationships with one another. So there's actually our first event. We've got it on the calendar. We've got it set April 23rd at 2 o'clock. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to do.
Yeah, so April 23rd, on Saturday, we're going to go to the Negro Leagues Museum. And we're going to walk through that together, and we're going to look at our first habits. So H3 is all focused in on these specific habits that we're cultivating in our walk with Jesus and one another to deepen our identity in Christ. And we're going to look at that first habit. Now, here's what you need to know when we get to the Negro Leagues Museum. I would encourage you to get there a couple minutes before 2 o'clock, okay? Find parking and find your way in, because you're going to think you know how to do it, and then you're going to be surprised you don't, and then we're going to be waiting for you. So don't do that, all right? So get there a little early. We're going to start at 2. Don't show up at 2. We're going to start at 2. Also, you're going to want to bring $10 with you, because that, I believe, is still the ticket,
the admission fee.
The admission to get in there, and we're expecting you to provide that. We're going to provide some teaching, and we're going to provide kind of the convening space, but we want you to pay for that ticket, and we're going to then go back to the church after we've gone through the tour, and we're going to dive deep into that first habit together and into our relationships with one another.
Yeah, it's a really powerful, impacting experience. And so in the meantime, as we prepare for April 23rd, want to again engage in communication with one another. I'll be sending out email. I'll be giving updates on the GroupMe. In addition to that, really be focused on your growth, your development, your relationship with Jesus, and what do you want this ministry to look like, because ultimately ultimately it comes down to you being invested together with us in partnership as you grow, as you learn, as you build those relationships that are so vitally important. And there's probably a few areas that we should be focused on, maybe 3 areas that we should be focused on in that meantime.
Yeah, so we're going to be zeroing in when we gather together every time, and even in between those times, whether we're doing kind of social activities or what have you, we're going to be engaging in truth. We're going to be engaging in discipline, and we're going to be engaging in accountability. Truth, we need to understand who God is and who we are. We need to be engaged in discipline, these practices that form us into greater Christ-likeness and who we've been designed and called to be. And accountability, we can't do this alone. We need each other. So we're going to be asking these questions alongside of these 3 things. Who are you called to be? What are you called to do? And how are you coming alongside of these other H3 participants to encourage one another, keep each other accountable? Because we're zealous for life. As guys, we want to be guys that just embody the life of Christ. And do that in every aspect of our lives, but we need each other to do that.
That's right. You're ministering to me right here in this moment. Thanks, man.
Come on.
Thank you. Yeah, and another thing, just one last thing. If you're not attending one of our Wednesday men's fellowships, we have 2 opportunities for you. The 6:30 a.m. and the 8 p.m. here at the downtown campus. We look forward to getting to know you, to getting to build relationship with you, to get to have fun with you, and ultimately be pointing our lives to Christ alongside you. So on April 23rd, Saturday, 2 p.m., we'll see you there.
Sounds good.
Oh, one take wonders. Look at that.
Here we go.
Huh.
Here we go.
They need to hire us over there as the marketing team.